everybody, this is Bob from Music Store Live, and today I have the good pleasure to speak with Tor Mogensen of TC Electronic. Tor, thank you very much for being here today and speaking with us as part of our Gold Rush 2014 promotion. How are you today?
I'm excellent, thank you, and thanks so much for letting us be a part of this. It's a real pleasure. I'm really excited about it. I think it's a really cool idea.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks. Well, we had a lot of fun doing this last year, and this year we're just kind of keeping the fun rolling here, and we've got so many great people kind of participating, and TC being involved is wonderful. And hey, where are you speaking to us from today?
I'm actually speaking to you guys from Denmark, so I'm on a good 6 hours later in the day. So I'm in the small city of Aarhus, which is the place where the TC headquarters is located.
Oh, great. Cool. Well, that's wonderful. Well, let me see. I think I can just fire off a question again and get us going here. I'm kind of curious, how long, Tor, have you been working with TC? What year did you join TC?
Oh, a long time ago. I think I've been with TC. I kind of lost count at some point, but I think I've been with TC for almost 12 years now. I started out as a web developer. So I designed web pages and, all the Flash stuff for TC. And then at some point I got the opportunity to head the guitar department, which obviously was a, huge opportunity to me. So I'm really grateful for that. It's an awesome job.
Yeah, it's funny the way people kind of get into their jobs sometimes doing something else, and then a different door opens up, and then there you go. Will you start us off by maybe just like walking us through it seems like your job probably has a lot of different things to offer, but what's like a typical day in the life with you at TC?
Oh, it varies greatly. My official title is business manager, but I really see myself more of the product guy. So the way I see my job is I'm the guy who basically handles all our products or all our guitar products from the moment they're kind of born as an idea until the day we discontinue them and they go into the grave. So in all the product's lifetime, from idea to death, I'm kind of the guy who handles or is in charge of the products or the guitar products. So any given day, I could be coming up with new products. I could be testing pedals. I could be dialing in sounds. I could be talking with artists. I could be traveling to talk to dealers, doing videos. It's a very, very there's a lot of different things to do, and no 2 days are alike.
It doesn't sound like it. That's really fun. I think a lot of people, would probably love it if their jobs had as many different things going on every day to look forward to. Now, you said you started there as a web developer, but what's interesting is that you do that and then end up becoming the product manager, as you say. Did you have a background in electronics when you got to TC?
No, not at all. In fact, I have to be honest. I can't even. Well, I could probably solder a pedal, but I'm sure the hardware guys would just laugh at my mediocre soldering technique. No, I'm in no way handy with any kind of programming, like hardcore programming, like our the real software developers do. And I'm not a hardware guy ever. So you could say that my background comes from playing guitar for a very long time, and I think I got the job mainly based on the fact that I just had some ideas and was pretty opinionated at work about the stuff we did in relation to the guitar stuff, even before I started as a product manager, but just working there. So my job is basically, you could say that my job is representing the customers. So we have all these engineers and really, really clever guys. And I'm the guy who's kind of going, okay, so it's fine that we can invent all this cool stuff and we can do all these crazy things, but we got to make sure that it's something that guitar players want and that they appreciate. So I'm kind of the customer's voice inside CC.
That's awesome. That's what a kind of cool position to be in.
It is a cool position.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm sure that kind of communication between you and the customers. Like you said, you're out, you're meeting with artists, you're meeting with dealers, and essentially, you're the guitar player's kind of lifeline inside of TC. I'm sure that influences some of the designs. Like you said, you work with some of these pedals, from their very beginning, their inception, all the way through, when they maybe are retired at some point. So I'm sure you have to really keep your finger on the pulse of what the guitar players out there are looking for and are demanding these days.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that you can overall say that I think when I started at TC doing the product stuff, we had a tendency to make things really complicated, and I think it comes from the background that TC for a long time was a company that were mainly making high-end studio processors. So stuff for engineers that really had tons of time to tweak and dial in and didn't mind having rack units and stuff like that. And I think that what we're trying to do now in the guitar department, and that mostly comes from talking to guitar players and seeing what they want and what they like, and also knowing what I like myself, is just trying to simplify things a lot. It's sometimes it's better to take away some options or taking some choices for the customer instead of just presenting them with every single conceivable option and just making the product impossible to use.
I love I agree with you there 100%. I'm a huge fan of that approach, which is keep it as simple as possible and try not to give people option anxiety and give them 500 buttons and knobs to play with on one pedal, when maybe the best thing you could have done, like with the example of say the Ditto looper or the Spark. It does the Spark boost. It does one thing and it does it extraordinarily well, and there's no need to go any further than to just do that one thing and to just do it very well every time you need it to work.
No, exactly, and I realized that our products are not for everybody. There are some people who want more options, and that's fine. There are products out there for them as well. So we're just trying to make things that appeal to us inside TC, but obviously also that we think that a big proportion of guitar players like, and if that that's cool that it's not for everybody, because some people have this tendency to think that if you just add all the options, then it's you cater to everybody, but that actually scares a lot of people away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I really applaud that approach that you guys take there, and I'm sure it's not easy to do. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure at times to offer a few extra features when really one or two is all that's really called for. But we touched on the Ditto looper for a second. Maybe I could just ask you, but these are really, really successful pedals, and we've had a lot of success with them at Music Store Live. So
yeah.
The Ditto looper and then the Ditto looper 2. What was it like working on helping to create and design these pedals?
Oh, that was a ton of fun. It was, the whole thing started with us. We've been talking about doing a looper, and basically we've done, you could call it rudimentary loopers in Flashback and Flashback X4. So we had some experience with looping already, but we wanted to make a dedicated looper. And the first thing we did was we just invited a bunch of guitar players into a room and had some video cameras on them, and we had pretty much all the existing loopers on the market in there, and we just asked them to just fool around with them, and we observed them and had them play around with them, and we could just see afterwards that they got so frustrated. So we started just scaling away stuff, and I have to admit I went a little overboard at the end. Let's just say that there were quite a few people in the TC organization that were a little bit worried that we went too far with just removing everything. But once we got started, it just made so much sense to just, make it this super small, no-nonsense thing that obviously, because we remove all this clutter, we can also sell it cheaper, which, granted, helps a lot in terms of selling products. So it just, once the idea came that this is what we wanted to do, it was just so clear that, we have to do this right now. This is just, it's a no-brainer. So that was a ton of fun to work on. With Ditto X2, it was more a matter of saying, okay, so here's the Ditto was the original idea, and that was kind of, that was the philosophy of what we were going for. And Ditto X2 was really listening to the customers and saying, okay, so we do realize that with Ditto, we boiled it down to the absolute, essentials of looping. And there are some people who want a little more. So we wanted to balance this very narrow, this tightrope between, not putting enough new stuff in there, but also making sure that you don't put so much in there that we basically start becoming like everybody else, which I think in general for TC and the products we do is we always want to differentiate ourselves in some way or another. We want to make things that are different.
Yeah. Well, I think you can tell that when you guys release a new product. I think, at least for me as a guitar player, it's easy to pick up on the fact that you guys really have, it wasn't just like this idea that was in any way ever rushed through. You can tell that this is something you guys are very mindful about, the guitar player's experience and how your products are going to fit into their lives and to all the equipment that they're always, employing. On the subject of, fitting into pedal boards or just pedal boards in general, we're all artists and guitar players. We all have our own palette that we paint with. I'm sure you get to see a lot of live music and see a lot of bands and artists, live and in person. Do you have like a favorite pedal board from out there, at shows or anything like that really stands out to you, or any guitar players in general that really jump out to you as a player, when it comes to their use of effects?
Oh, there's so many.
Right.
Good Lord, I think. The weird thing is I like so many different kinds of music. So to me it's I think that I can appreciate somebody like The Edge for using effects in so many new and alternative ways, and playing guitar in a way that you wouldn't have thought of. I think of, but at the same time I also like somebody like Matt Bellamy from Muse for also pushing the envelope. But at the same time, new guys that I found that I really like, somebody like Gary Clark Jr. or Derek Trucks, who I have to admit doesn't use any effects at all.
I think he uses your tuner though.
He uses our Polytune, and that's the only pedal he has on his board.
Exactly. There's not even a board.
So so there's so many guys out there. I think in general, right now I'm getting more and more into. It's gonna sound wrong, but I'm getting more and more into music and not as much just guitar players. I used to be, total guitar nerd and just listening to, I would listen to Steve Vai and Malmsteen all day, and I really like those guys still.
Yeah.
But these days I'm I don't listen to the guitar music quite as much as I used to. So I think my taste changed a little bit. I like a lot of metal. I like Mastodon. I think they do some cool stuff that's different and not the typical thing.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you that I think would tie in with that. So you're saying, you're getting away from just listening to maybe very guitar-based music and just more into other music, and kind of broadening your own interest with musically, which is great. So I asked this to Randall Smith, founder of Mesa Boogie Amplifiers, and Carlos Santana, and I was curious, people like that. Curious what your other influences are in the world that influence your concept of sound and tone. And for somebody like you, you're involved in creating effects and ways to manipulate sound that guitar players can employ. So, do you have other sounds in the world that help inform and influence your ideas of that, or other instruments even, but any other sounds in the world that really influence you?
That's a good question. I would say, in terms of sounds, Personally, I love piano. I think it's an awesome sound, but I'm not necessarily, inclined to making a guitar or an effect sound like that. I would more say that it's not even sound as much as an approach. I like the idea. I like the Apple and Steve Jobs idea of just saying that if we want to do something, we have to do it 100%. From a perspective of making products that are good and sound good and look good, it has to be the whole package. That has inspired me a lot. In terms of sounds, God, that's a good question.
I don't want to influence your answer, but one interesting response from Randy Smith from Mesa Boogie was, he said it was the sound of the big British race cars, with these massive block engines that they have these special harmonics on them that he said, he can only hear in these engines. I said, that's a good point. I'm actually a big Formula One buff, but I'm not sure I would like my pedals to sound that high frequency. What I do like, what I can say in general is I do appreciate music and some of the newer music where they take stuff that's non-musical and use it in a musical way. What I dislike is the idea that there are good sounds and bad sounds. That bands and musicians who can use anything at the right time. So the guys in Daft Punk, for example, will spend hours and hours getting the right sound for something. But it's not necessarily always a beautiful sound. It could also be a very gnarly or ugly, whatever sound. So it's all just sounds. I like that idea a lot. Absolutely, I think that's a great example. Those guys, they do a tremendous job of taking a sound that maybe taken out of context might be seen as abrasive or unattractive or unpleasant, but they use it in an extremely musical and attractive way. I think that's a good example. Well, if I could change gears, we'd like to know what's going on these days. What are the projects that you have your hands busy with at the moment? What are you working on right now? What's coming down the line?
Oh God, I wish I could tell you. We try to keep a pretty close lid on what we're doing, but I can say that more or less the entire team is very busy and working on something that we'll release at Wintername in January. And it's a very, very big project. Probably the biggest one we've ever overtaken. And it got, usually the TC guitar department is comprised of around 10 guys. And usually we can kind of split up, so part of the team is working on the next big thing and somebody else is working on maybe, an upgrade or a software update or, something a little less elaborate. But right now, this project requires everything. So it's a new mechanical design, it's new hardware, it's new software, it's pretty much everything. And it's a ton of fun. Those are the fun projects to do.
All right. Well,
but it's also it's also the nerve-wracking thing because it's the projects where one day you come home and you go like, oh, this is just awesome. Everything is going just the way we wanted, and then the next day is like, yeah, none of it is working. We have to start over. It's just that didn't pan out the way we planned, and you go, oh shit, we won't be able to make it for the deadline, and the next day, oh, we found out a way to solve it. That so it's very much a roller coaster ride these days. But that's the fun part as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the nature of and the fun of being in that creative profession like this. I'm sure. Well, I understand you guys have to keep a lid on it, and we'll just have to wait until Winter NAMM. But that's exciting to hear coming from the guys that made it possible for you to point your phone at your guitar pickup and download the next sound.
Yeah, that was yeah.
So whatever the big thing is that's coming, I'm sure we're all very eager to find out what that's going to be.
It's going to be pretty cool. But there's a lot of working in. It's a weird thing because I think as a guitar player, I remember that before I started actually, creating pedals and products. You'd think that it's, that doesn't take that long to, you make a pedal, you throw it out a couple of months later, and there it is. But, a lot of times these things take more than a year and a half, sometimes even 2 years. So it's the things that you guys will be seeing over, say from now until December, most of these things are more or less already finished now. So we're basically, starting to manufacture those. So there's quite a lot of products coming out over the next couple of months. But, our heads right now on the stuff that's coming, half a year or a year from now.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's exciting. Well, we're all very excited to see what happens at Winter NAMM.
Yeah.
Wish you luck with the roller coaster ride between here and there.
Thank you. I hope you guys will like it.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Well, I think that this is probably a good place to break, and I want to say thanks so much for your time today. But I wanted to leave you with one last question that we've been asking everybody, which is kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
And you take it as you will, and do what you will with the question. But we've been asking everyone, what is music? What is music to you? Or I'll just leave it at that, and you can respond however you like. What is music?
Yeah. I think to me, music is, well, to be honest, for me personally, music is what makes my life. It's everything in my life. It's my work. It's what I do when I don't work. It's everything, and I think it's the purest art form in the sense that it doesn't require any explanation or anything. It just is. And there's, if you look at other types of art, maybe it's easier to pinpoint and see that's good or that's bad or that's wrong or that's right. But music is well, basically just is, and also it's I think it's something that binds us together in ways that no other art form can. I mean, not to take anything away from painting or anything like that, but it's if you listen to the radio or even pretty much anything, it's basically the soundtrack to our lives, and I couldn't live without it.
That's really well put. Tor, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Take care.
We'll put this out in a little while, and once Gold Rush commences, we're recording this before the event, and you can look for it on YouTube. And thanks so much for giving us your time today, and we look forward to crossing paths with you again one day.
Cool. Thanks. My pleasure. Take care.
Okay. You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.